Alright guys, it's 5:40 a.m. This morning. We are going to do 22 miles in the Hoka Cielo X. I ran in this guy twice on back-to-back days about 2 weeks ago when it first came out, and the stack on this thing feels absolutely beast. A Running Warehouse actually measured this at 46 millimeters in the heel, 39 in the forefoot. So today we're going to put it through the long run test, and this morning I'm also going to take you through my routine, my prep for how I attack these long runs. Let's do it. I'd like to get some good carbs in before. Today we're doing Dave's toast with a little bit of peanut butter, and I'll also do some tailwind. And of course we got the coffee going over there. Guys, 6:47. Finished the coffee, almost finished the toast. I rarely ever finish my complete toast. Finish uploading some stuff to the site. By the way, if you need a new running shoe, go to supwell.io. This is my pride and joy. This is my baby. I've spent a lot of time working on this guy. You can go to the shoe matcher and get matched with the best running shoe for you. Just answer 5 questions. So yeah, if you're looking for a new running shoe, check out supwell.io. Anyway, it's time to get changed into some running clothes. And then we're going to bang a 22 miler in this. I think it's kind of cold this morning, so we're going to have to bundle up. Yeah, we're going smart wool gloves, features socks, Saucony quarter zip. I may ditch this, loop back around at home at some point. A little REI shirt, t-shirt action with the REI 3/4 length joggers that aren't supposed to be 3/4 length. So for fuel today, we're going to do the raspberry caffeinated tailwind. And then I also got some stuff from Run for Your Life here in Charlotte yesterday. Got the tailwind recovery mix for after the run. And we're putting down some pace this morning, so we're going to use these caffeinated Morton gels. These things have 100 milligrams of caffeine, so it is a big kick. You get amped. Man, I'm just mixing up my drink here, but it just looks cold today. Look at that. You know what I mean? It's all blue and gray. It just looks like a cold morning. We're going to be freezing out there. $100 salad with the Brutons. Alright guys, 7:09 a.m., aka game time. Let's do this thing. Alright guys, it is quite cold out here this AM. I don't even know how the birds are chirping. Shouldn't they be in Florida or something? Man, this is what I get for bragging about how nice the Carolina winters are all the time. Today is like, I don't even know, 29 or something? I'm shivering. I'm gonna have to warm up in my jacket. But we are going to do 22 miles this morning in the Hoka Cielo X-1. Oh, I can already tell I got a nice lockdown with these guys. The laces are a bit different than normal racing laces, but you can crank them down to get a good lockdown, which is nice. So plan for this run is to run back the workout that I did in the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4. I am shivering. I don't even know if you can hear it in my voice. I'm legitimately shivering. Oh, I'm not built for this anymore, man. From the streets of Lowell, Massachusetts to the burbs of Charlotte, North Carolina. I need that 60-degree weather again. So that workout was 4 miles warm-up, 8 miles at marathon pace, 1 mile at threshold pace, which I was not able to hit in the Speed 4s, and it is really hard to hit threshold pace in the middle of a 20-mile long run, and it might be a little bit advanced for my training capabilities at the moment, but I like pushing myself, trying things that are a little bit out of my comfort zone. So we're going to try that again. It essentially is 16 miles of straight marathon pace because you do 4 warm-up, 8 marathon pace, 1 threshold, and then, trying to work my math here, 6 marathon pace, then close it out with 1 threshold and then a 2-mile cool down. So 22 miles total with 16 miles of working effort and hopefully 2 miles at threshold pace, which for me should be around 6:0 flat. I'll be happy if I can get these guys below 6:10, and if I can take that marathon effort anything below 6:30, I'll be happy with, but anything between 6:15 and 6:45 is right within the target effort, especially because I live in an extremely hilly neighborhood. So far in the Hoka Cielo X-1s, I did a first run. It was about 8 miles, I believe. Yeah, 8 miles with some progression in there. They felt good. They felt bouncy. They felt like when I stepped on the gas, they really came alive and promoted running with good form, which is interesting because they have such an aggressive rocker. And then the second run, I did a workout on the treadmill. I compared them to the Vaporfly, and they felt like 2 completely different categories of shoes, which is funny because these guys say that they have a legal below 40 millimeter stack, but Running Warehouse actually tested this stack back here to be 46. So I don't know how they get away with it, but it is closer to 46 back here and 39 up in the front, and that's what made it feel like I think I compared it to running in a Gel Nimbus versus a Rebel, comparing the Vaporfly to the Rebel and these to the Gel Nimbus. So today we're going to do the third run, and I think this might be the last run I need before I do a full review of the shoe, because if you guys remember, we were aligning on what the review criteria would be for marathon racers, and we said a first run, a familiarization run, a second run, which is a workout, and then a long run. So we might be able to do the fully tested review after today, after we get 22 miles. And so what I'm going to be looking for is how these feel in the back half of the run. I know they feel great at my marathon pace and faster. I know that they're comfortable for hour-long runs and below, but how do they do once we get some fatigue in our legs here? Can Hoka, which is a brand known for comfort, shout out to the Hoka Orlux slide, can they still be comfortable towards the end of the run? So that's what we're going to be looking out for. And then, of course, the weight. These guys are a lot heavier than some of the other shoes in the category. So how does it feel on foot towards the end of the run to be running in I think these are about 9.5 ounces in my size, or 250, 60 grams. I don't know, I'll flash on the screen here. So yeah, right shoe, 258. And I did check inside both of them. There's nothing weird going on inside either, but the left shoe coming in at 272. So that is some really weird QA. But how do these feel versus some of the other shoes that I've been running in for long runs, like the Speed 4, which is about comparable, maybe even a little bit lower weight. And then last week I ran the Rebel. So this will be my first run in a little bit, first long run where I'm running in a marathon racer. I ran the Alpha Flies a few weeks ago, but that wasn't a great run. Today we're going to have a great run, guys. I'm manifesting it, as they say. I'm making it real. Great run. Let's go. Let's do this thing. Oh man, I'm just warming up here, but one thing I'm noticing immediately is I'm getting a little bit of the midfoot arch weirdness, which I know people had in the Alpha Fly 1 and 2, and I rarely have issues with fit and feel in shoes, but it feels like I'm running right on top of something in the arch of my foot. So this will be an interesting thing to monitor during the run if I get to report back on it, because oftentimes I forget after 2.5 hour long runs what I told you I was going to talk about. Just let me know in the comments. Ask me, how did the midfoot arch go, if I forget. All right, guys, 22 miles done at a 6:44 pace, about 2.5 hours, and that was an absolute sufferfest. Yeah, it's days like today that make me question why I chose this as a hobby. Or a profession, whatever it is. My hobby before I picked up running super hard was, well, I used to watch a ton of sports, and I love sports. I almost started a analytics website for basketball called Analytics Don't Lie. I think I still own that domain, analyticsdon'tlie.com. So maybe we'll merge it into Supwell at some point. But my hobby right before this was whiskey collecting. And Days like today make me wish I were sipping on a nice glass of barrel-proof rare breed instead of just completely suffering. Yeah, and it's a little bit hard because I didn't have a lot of motivation, or I don't know. I wasn't in it, but we executed. And I think that's one of the things about getting better at the marathon and marathon training. Sometimes you're not gonna have that oomph all the time. It's just raw execution, and that's what today was, raw execution.
All right, guys, 22 painful, suffering miles in the books. It's funny because I'm done with the run now, and I'm laughing. I have a smile on my face, but that was the toughest run I've done since the 2022 Charlotte Marathon. There's not even a question, and I don't know why. I've done hard, long runs over the past few months. I've done similar runs at this pace. I was a little bit faster average pace-wise. I think this is probably my fastest 22 miler, but not by that much. I also took a break once to use the bathroom at the gas station, so let the heart rate settle down a bit. But today was just an absolute struggle fest, a suffer fest, and sometimes it'd be like that, you know? So what matters is we got it done. We pushed through that wall. We kept the legs moving and grooving. And today I was able to execute on the threshold miles, which when I did this workout last time in the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4, I just did not have the power needed to drop the pace down to that 6:10, 6 flat range in the middle of a 22 miler. And today I was able to do that. So good thing is the fitness is progressing. Now, as for these guys right here, the Hoka Cielo X-1, this is a tall shoe. That is the defining feature of the shoe. I felt it when I did that first run. I felt it especially when I did that treadmill test because I put it head to head with the Nike Vaporfly. And when I did that threshold treadmill test with the Hoka Cielo X-1 and the Nike Vaporfly, as soon as I put the Vaporfly on, I said, this shoe feels like a racing flat compared to what we see in the Cielo X-1 here. And with the Running Warehouse measurements, having this up at 46 millimeters in the heel, I can feel every single one of those 46 millimeters out there on the run. And so before we left, I told you guys, remind me in the comments if I forget to talk about the weird arch fit thing here. And I cannot forget to talk about that because that is one of the defining or core characteristics of the shoe out there on the run. And I don't think it's necessarily something poking up into the arch. And I'm questioning now whether in the Alpha Fly 1 and the Alpha Fly 2, it was actually something poking up into the arch, or if it's because the way these shoes geometries are shaped on the bottom, when you strike more with the heel, when you land more to the back of the midfoot, which is the common way to land for a marathon pace, you're getting more of this massive stack punching up into your foot and providing almost a braking force if you're not landing right at this front rocker area. And so this was a shoe where I'm not quite sure yet if it works perfectly for my mechanics. I do land more to the mid-rear foot. At slower than marathon pace, I'm definitely a heel striker when I'm jogging along. At marathon pace or faster, I land more flat-footed, and especially in a lower stack or lower drop shoe like the Rebel V4, I land much more flat-footed. But with a higher stack shoe like this, where it does have this weird heel geometry, it's gonna force a little bit more of a dragging of the foot. So that's a big question mark for me about whether or not the shoe is gonna work for the marathon distance, because with that heel being so chunky, it has a little bit of an awkward feel out there on the run. The New Balance SC Elite V4 had a much more natural feel for me because of that lower drop. I didn't get an awkward feeling like that at marathon pace, so that might be an option that works a little bit better for me and my mechanics. Hold on, I'm gonna put my gloves on because it is freezing out here. All right, gloves are on, we're a little bit warmer, it's chilly. Anyway, now as for the performance of this midsole foam, I was really impressed by how this PEBA did out there on the run. It didn't feel like it was breaking down toward the end of that run or losing any of the pop. It gave me a very consistent feeling throughout the entire run, and the shoe was able to keep up no matter the pace. When I dropped it down to that threshold range, it did have enough pop and energy return to meet me where I wanted it to be, unlike the Saucony Endorphin Speed 4, which with that plastic plate, I felt went a little bit flat. Now, the main question with the shoe, of course, is the weight, and I gotta say the weight penalty is noticeable, especially on the hills. Now, when I was going on the flats, which there are not very many flats around here, and I'll see if I can dig up the elevation gain number. I didn't look at it yet, but it's probably in the 800 to 1,000 foot range. So we were eating a lot of elevation gain today, and so with that, anytime I was going up a hill, I felt like this shoe was every bit of that 9.5 ounces. Felt similar to Adidas Boston 12, which it is. It's not as light on foot as the Nike Vaporfly, which is a little bit easier for me to turn over on these hills out here. So I'm not actually racing a hilly marathon. My next marathon is going to be relatively flat, but out here on the hills, maybe it's a good thing that I'm wearing a heavier shoe, help me build up some strength. It's not great. So if you are considering a hilly marathon, I would think about the weight penalty of the shoe, because it might be a little bit harder for you to crank up that marathon pace on hills. This might not be the best shoe for Boston or another very hilly, high elevation gain marathon like that. Could be a good option for Chicago or one of those flat races. Now, the paces that I was running today during my workout section, 16 miles. So I did 4-mile warm up, 8 miles at a marathon effort, 1 mile threshold, 6 miles at a marathon effort, another mile threshold, and 2 cool downs. So when I was doing those marathon effort paces, that was anywhere from probably a 2:45 marathon pace to a 2:55 marathon pace. And the shoe felt pretty good for that. It felt good at faster than that when I dropped it down to that threshold pace, which would be closer to a 2:35 marathon pace. And when I was at my warm up and cool down paces, which were about a 3:30 to a 4-hour marathon pace, the shoe also felt good. However, it's less about pace in this shoe for me. I think this shoe is going to work for a lot of people. Marathon paces from 2:20 to 4:20. It's a great shoe. It's comfortable. It's relatively stable out here on the back, but it's going to be about your mechanics more so. And again, with this heel and how much foam you're getting, it's almost giving me Alpha Fly vibes, or what I assume the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro feels like. And I didn't run that shoe. I've run in the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Flash 2, which I got to bring out soon. I think I might do a comparison with that one and another shoe in the next coming week. So stay tuned. Also, you guys know most of the shoes I have in my rotation. So if you have a shoe that you want to see compared to the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Flash 2, let me know, because I've heard the streets talking and they're saying that is one of the most underrated shoes this year. So I got to bring that out, show it some love. But with this guy here, it does have a little bit of that feeling where there's not a lot to land on out in the back. And so if you are a heavy heel dragger, a heavy heel scuffer, this might not be the best shoe for you. It is going to offer enough support and comfort for the marathon, which is one of the big things that we look at. How does the shoe feel at the end of that 2-hour effort? And this thing felt absolutely fantastic. I probably could have gone 3, 4, 5 hours in the shoe if I needed to. And once I hit my 22 miles, I was actually probably a quarter of a mile down the road here, and I decided not to be a hero today and jogged the last 0.25 miles. I said, you know what? We're not going one more today. We're stopping right at 22 because that's what we have on the schedule. I'm gonna walk the rest of the way. I earned this walk. And so I paused my watch, stopped the watch, walked the last 0.25, 5 minutes back for the last little bit of the cool down, and the shoes felt great for walking still, felt really comfortable, and a ton of support here. So unlike a Vaporfly, which is my main point of comparison here, because for me that still represents the pinnacle, the peak of race day performance until one of these other shoes I'm testing knocks it off. That's what I'm going to keep referencing when I'm doing these shoe comparisons. But unlike that shoe, this has a much wider base. I don't have that shoe out here with me, it's inside, but this is going to have a lot more support, a lot more stability out here in the heel, and be a little bit better for the later stages of that marathon. So despite the weight penalty, I actually think this is a great option if you don't think you're going to be able to run the whole marathon with strength. And that's another thing I look at with these marathon shoes. How do they do toward the end of the race when you're super tired, you feel like you can't turn over those legs? Are they still giving you enough support? Is it going to be an issue and you're overpronating a little bit? And with the Vaporfly, that does not give nearly enough support for someone who doesn't think they're going to be running with strength at the end of the race, which for many of us, if we're finishing the 3:30 to 4-hour range, we are going to be a little bit running with poor form toward the end of that effort. So if you couldn't tell, I think the shoe is going to work great for a lot of people. I'm really excited about it, and at the $275 price point, it is not cheap. So the other question that comes into the equation here is durability. Now, a lot of marathon racing shoes out there, like the Vaporfly, are not designed to be taken to 300, 400 miles. But this guy right here, Hoka, actually says that they engineered it to have some degree of durability. And so what we're seeing so far is a little bit questionable with that, because they left the back of the foam here completely exposed. And now with only 30 miles on this, you're already starting to see the foam break down. And this is actually the same outsole layout that they're putting on the Mach 6, which is really weird because the Mach 5, the main issue we had with that was it wasn't durable, and then they slapped this weird outsole layout on it. So we'll see how that one performs. But with this only being at 30 miles from me and we're already starting to see the foam break down a little bit, I'm not sure how it's gonna do once it gets up to that 200, 250 mile mark. And for a lot of runners out there, if you're gonna be buying one race day shoe for $275 and you wanna use it during training, that is gonna be a question mark. So stay tuned. This might be a shoe which I'll take to 100, 150 miles. I'm not sure because I have a lot of shoes that I wanna test this year at some high mileage levels. So work with me here and let me know which racers you want me to see take to high mileage out of the Hoka Cielo, the Diadora Gara, and the New Balance SC Elite V4, because I'll probably only be able to take one or two of those up to 200 miles. So durability is definitely questionable here, but in terms of using it for training, the performance of the plate is not too harsh, and that's something that can happen with these race day shoes sometimes, is you can get a little bit of a harsh feeling coming through, but that's not the case here. So if you are a 4-hour marathoner and you want to use this for long runs, or even a 3-hour marathoner and you want to use this for long runs, it will provide a good degree of comfort. This is of course not going to be a good daily trainer, so if you are out there looking for a new everyday running shoe, don't buy this. Buy the Clifton or the Mach 6 if you want something from Hoka, but this is a totally viable option for long runs, for any marathon tempos, for even speed work if you needed to. I felt like it performed great at 6-minute and sub 6-minute paces when I did take it to that range in my last few tests with the shoe. So overall, if you're going to suffer in one shoe for 2.5 to 4 hours, this is a pretty good choice. It is really comfortable. Yes, it does have a little bit of a weight penalty, so if you're not racing a totally flat marathon, might not be the best choice. And for $275, it is expensive, but I do think you'll be able to get some good mileage out of this if you are not a heel striker, because other than the exposed heel, it does have some pretty good rubber coverage. Now, if we think about the other shoes up at $275, you have the Alpha Fly, you have the Endorphin Elite, and you have the Diadora Gara at $300. So against the Alpha Fly, I'm gonna do a comparison head-to-head between those, but this is gonna be better for most people if you're not running sub 3-hour marathons. Against the Diadora Gara, that is a much more traditional feeling shoe. This one has a little bit more speed assistance with the aggressive rocker. Diadora Gara has a little bit more of a traditional geometry, feels more like a traditional training shoe, and then when you pick up the pace, you get some snap off that forefoot. Let me know if you wanna see a head-to-head between those. I gotta get some more miles in the Gara. And then against the Endorphin Elite, again, that shoe is gonna be a little bit better for faster runners. This thing here is a little bit more agreeable for slower paces, and this thing has some good stability, although the weight penalty is something to consider on this versus the Endorphin Elite. So, all right, guys, Hoka Cielo X-1, I endorse this for long runs, for the marathon. This is now fully tested, so stay tuned for the full review. I might get a few more miles in it just to see how the durability does, but we will have the full review of this coming up on the channel soon. As always, I appreciate you watching. I'm gonna get some calories in, and then I will see you tomorrow.